Now, by 2002, I reckoned that China would probably have accumulated somewhere between 20 and 25,000 tons of gold secretly for the state. In other words, people were then allowed to buy gold once the state had got its basic position. Mm-hmm. Now, it has obviously increased from then. Now, when you look at, for example, the People's Bank of China has been declaring, constantly larger gold reserves. I mean, these figures don't really matter.
Since the beginning of the year, China has added 181 metric tons, bringing its total to 2,192 metric tons. Analysts speculate that China's actual gold reserves, measured in troy ounces, could be much higher, potentially reaching 15 to 20,000 metric tons. Alasdair Macleod currently holds the position of head of research at Gold Money, providing insights into precious metals. Alasdair Macleod commends Singapore for accumulating significant gold reserves, following the influence of major players like China, Russia, the US, and the G7. Singapore's central bank was the third largest buyer of gold in the world for the first 9 months of 2023 after its counterparts in China and Poland, according to the World Gold Council, WGC. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, MAS, bought 4 tons of gold on regulated gold exchanges in the third quarter of 2023, bringing its total purchases so far in 2023 to 75 tons, the council said. Meanwhile, Alasdair suggests an impending collapse of the fiat currency system, particularly given the conditions of US and Japan's government finances. The US dollar is the most commonly held, making up 59% of global foreign exchange reserves. The US dollar's share of world reserve currencies has decreased from 73% in 2001 to 47% this year, the lowest level ever. Now, we will present the clips of Alasdair Macleod's insights from his recent interview. Before we continue to delve into this discussion, please subscribe to our channel and activate the bell icon for timely updates.
The interesting one, I think, in all this is Singapore, who have been building their gold reserves, very significantly. For a small island state, it's quite remarkable how much gold they have been buying. The one thing I would say about the Singaporeans is that they really do have their finger on the Asian pulse. They understand geopolitical situation. They understand, as a small island, they have to be very careful about how they protect themselves from us larger guys who, might bully them around. And they haven't really sort of sided with anyone. But the fact that they've been accumulating such large quantities of gold, I think is a very clear indication that they see what China is doing, they see what Russia is doing, and they see what America and the G7 are doing. And they can see, the dangers, if you like, in the two sort of opposite poles of monetary approach. And anyone with half a brain looking at what's going on with the dollar and America's finances, Japan's finances, I'm talking government finances, the whole thing is actually set up for a complete collapse of the fiat currency system. So what do you do if you're China and Russia and all the rest of it trying to build commercial power worldwide? Well, the answer is you've got to protect yourself from the follies of the West. And I think that's basically what's happened. The figures that we get, gold reserves, the increase in gold reserves are only part of the story, because a lot of these nations are also secretly accumulating gold and not marking them as central bank reserves. Wow. They're putting them into things like sovereign wealth funds, for example, or secret funds. The Chinese have used various accounts, and we know that. Now, by 2002, I reckoned China would probably have accumulated somewhere between 20 and 25,000 tons of gold. In other words, people were then allowed to buy gold. Now, it has obviously increased from then. Now, when you look at, for example, the People's Bank of China has been declaring constantly larger gold reserves. These figures don't really matter. We don't know whether the People's Bank has been in the market actually sort of accumulating gold, because remember, they're the biggest miners on Earth now, which is another aspect, I mean, why should they invest so heavily in gold mine output when gold is a pet rock? It doesn't matter, but the fact is they did.
Alasdair Macleod also contends that people often believe it's the price of gold that rises or falls, not recognizing the dollar's role in the equation. Historically, gold futures tend to move inversely with the US dollar as each asset strengthens under different types of global uncertainty. The start of the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, saw gold prices skyrocket while USD flattened since global fear was high and the US economy fell stagnant. Furthermore, he highlights the significant dollar depreciation since 1971, amounting to nearly 99%. The US dollar was, since the Coinage Act of 1834, a gold-backed currency. This was the case until August 15, 1971, when President Richard Nixon announced that the United States would no longer convert US dollars to the gold guaranteed prior. Let's get back to the interview.
Well, I think the first error is that you can't really look at the relationship between gold and a fiat currency in any quantitative sense, because the determination of the subjective value of the currency is entirely in the population's hands. So they wake up and they understand that it's the dollar going down, not gold going up. And from then on, the dollar's got a real problem. Everyone I talk to, even in the gold market, it's the price of gold that's rising or falling or whatever, not the dollar. They've got it completely the wrong way around. It's the sort of objective, subjective analysis, which is the objective value. The idea behind money is that is an objective value because any variation in the prices of goods is due to the subjective value that people put on the price of goods, on the value of a good or a service. The currency has got to be the stable thing. And we all assume that. I mean, if you go and buy something in a shop, the shopkeeper thinks that an Australian dollar is a dollar. That is the constant. But if they're going to sell something off the shelf, which is slow, they've got to lower the price of the thing off the shelf. So quite naturally, they think that all the subjectivity in terms of the price is actually in the goods, not in the currency. Now, as a separate issue, we know that over time, the purchasing power of the currency tends to decline. Why? Because you got irresponsible government. I mean, whatever. But from moment to moment, the value, if you like, of a fiat currency is entirely dependent on the faith in which people put in it. And so that objective-subjective relationship between gold and the currency is that gold is the objective value. That is not changing. The subjective value is the currency. That is the one that changes. That's the one that goes up, down. Normally the value goes down. I was actually looking at this for an article which will be released on Thursday for Gold Money. The dollar since 1971 has actually lost almost 99%. It's 98.2% of its value in terms of real money, what legally is money and what historically has been money. And of course, you tell this to people. They know that we've had inflation and all the rest of it, and we know that the central banks have a target of 2% inflation, which basically means that the purchasing power of the dollar over time declines. Nearly 99%. I mean, you must be joking. They don't actually realize what's been happening. So, I mean, that's, the way to look at this is not in the sense that there are so many dollars outstanding and there's only so much gold, let us say, in the central bank's reserves. Therefore, divide the number of dollars by the reserves in the central bank and you get a figure which should cover it. No, that's not the way to look at it at all. The relationship is this objective-subjective relationship between gold and a fiat currency.
China's consistent accumulation, with analysts speculating even higher reserves, suggests a strategic positioning for the future. As the US dollar's share in global reserves continues to decline, reaching its lowest level ever, there is a growing acknowledgement of the dollar's role in influencing gold prices. What are your thoughts on the future of precious metals and their connection to the shifting global economic system? Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out our other videos on gold, silver, and other commodities. Thanks for watching.